All right, first item on the agenda of the Water Quality Management Committee March 7th meeting is Little Pond Shellfish Propagation Conservation Commission update. Ron, having been out of the jurisdiction for the last week, is not as up to speed on this as
Sia will do it.
Jerry and Sia. Okay, go for it.
If you guys don't mind.
Please.
We, thank you. Working with Woodsole Group, we are compiling the 4 main pieces of information that Conservation Commission asked for. Engineered site plan, the clarification of ownership, a fuller explanation of the monitoring plan, and a storm management plan. So those are the 4 pieces that they had asked for. Those are in process. They are due to them March 13th, so that we will be able to have a full disclosure of information to them 1 week prior to the new scheduled meeting of March 20th. I'm planning to meet with John Brawley on Monday to try to frame the presentation, making sure that all of the points that Conservation has expressed they'd like to have addressed are addressed, and then hopefully work with Ron and Steve to have them give the presentation. However that works out for Conservation.
No, thanks. Just on that point, I'm wondering, isn't that a little tight, having it the date of delivery, the 13th, which is the day we have to hand it over to the Conservation Commission? Is it better to maybe get it to us by the 12th, like that Tuesday or something, so we can look at it? And
Which?
What you just talked about.
Oh, I didn't say they were due on the 12th. I said they'd be at Conservation on the 13th.
So when do they do? What's the due date?
The due date.
7 days before the hearing.
No, the due
To
date.
us?
To us.
These are coming from Woodsole Group.
Yeah.
And today, the engineered plan was supposed to be completed, so Monday, Tuesday.
Okay, all right, okay. Oh.
Tomorrow, hopefully. I'll be on the horn with them. It's a process.
No, I just wanted to be sure we
We
did.
have the sampling plan, the storm management plan he's working on.
We have the storm, these are all
Yeah.
their, yes, you're absolutely right. They will, I'm
Okay.
meeting with him on Monday, and the point is to make sure that all those things
Okay.
are in hand, and a presentation is outlined addressing all their concerns, so
Okay.
let's say Monday. The other sort of pieces on
Just
the,
one more point on that too is, pardon me, sorry, is that the plan, the work was done yesterday. I don't know how they did it yesterday, but they were out there and did the surveys and did the bit yesterday. So that was a rather dedicated group.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Okay, anyway.
Good.
wetlands
for them.
delineation was done yesterday.
Yeah.
It was great, right? A job description has been supplied to DNR, and they're working through that for advertising for the seasonal shellfish
Right.
person.
Yeah.
John and I talked with Jerry yesterday about having a scope of work for the gear so that we can send out the RFP for that, so that's also in process. And I think our shellfish ordering is on track.
Yes.
I mean, our shellfish ordering is on track. So.
We got a letter from our signature saying town is not liable.
If you don't have the money, you don't have to pay us.
And that makes
Good.
a lot of people happy.
Good, good,
And then you're taking care of.
Yeah, us
Right.
and Southbridge.
good.
Chuck.
Any comments or questions from the committee or the public on the shellfish project?
Yes, I just have, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, okay. Oh, sorry. I gotta get on
Right, our nationwide TV audience wants to
nationwide
hear you.
TV audience. Sorry, audience, if you read my lips, as they say. No, but there are a couple other things that have been done, and one thing is that there was work done with DMF on Friday concerning the permitting process that John did, and it's progressing very well, and it will be. Everything looks fine from what he says in terms of getting it with them, get it done with them as expected.
That's Department of Marine Fisheries.
Yeah, Division of Marine Fisheries, right.
Okay.
And and now in the plan, though, that there are certain steps coming up with notifying the Army Corps of Engineers. All of these, there's several aspects to this that are subtle, but our consultant is very well aware of them, and And a couple of other things are that we need that once the Concom approves, the NOI, the notice of intent, and if they approve the notice of intent, the town will need to inform the Army Corps of Engineers, the regional tribes, the Wampanoag, and the Commonwealth Historical Society. So these are all things that go in with shellfishing. And fortunately, again, the consultant has personal experience with going through the process. And there was a meeting, there was a meeting with DEP that I think that Sia and Jerry attended and participated in, and talking about the monitoring and compliance program and what's required for the for getting the state basically to accept the nitrogen attenuation dynamics of it. And the outcome of that, from what I understand, is that the town just basically, speaking with Brian Dudley, it's the town, you guys were there, I wasn't, but from what I heard, so you can elaborate, was the town needs to just justify the monitoring program, which we have worked with Brian House and has come up with that, so we can continue with that. And then the correlation of the number of animals cultured and the impact on nitrogen in the estuary. So those are the types of things that need to be, I guess, projected at this point.
Yeah. Well, this was yesterday's meeting?
Yeah, I think it's better to say they're getting, well, what you said is accurate, but we're sending the monitoring plan as developed by SMAS to DEP. He's gonna send it, Brian Dudley, to his water quality people in Worcester. He's gonna send it to the county, was the person's name?
Yep, the Barnstable County Cooperative Extension.
Okay, Bill Clark. Yeah.
And then they're gonna also send it back to Brian, because I don't know if Brian knew where the shellfish designated area was, where it's right around the Sentinel Station, which is good in some respects, but it's not a slam dunk.
Right.
So we'll just wait and see.
Okay,
It could take a couple of
You
weeks.
might want these microphones close to you
Yeah.
if you're going to be talking. Okay, so you've had the meeting, it's in progress, everybody knows what they're supposed to
He
do.
thinks the scope of the sampling
Good.
seems reasonable. He had less willingness to say we needed to do as much robust sampling for, let's say, West Falmouth Harbor, as SMAS might have indicated. He said, technically we could just do a couple of samples around the Sentinel Station and see how they go.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And the same, we're gonna have to come up with Warren's Pond, but I don't think that is gonna be
Not,
as
not soon.
a difficult monitoring situation.
All right. Good. Any further comments or questions on Little Pond shellfish propagation?
One question. I just sort of skimmed through my emails as quick as I could today, and I noticed some correspondence back and forth that Matt had about an upweller, retracting it down, a used upweller. Is that in play, or that's a whole separate issue, or is that happening?
Apparently, it is in play.
Good.
From what I read, and what the interesting thing is that this upweller may cost. It's been used for a couple of seasons. It's in apparently perfect condition in Connecticut, and but the price might be half, roughly.
Well,
And so if we can,
because it looked like a very good price. They had good
Yeah.
pictures. It looked
Good.
like a pretty solid thing. It passes visual inspection. It could. I just wanted to know if we needed to, if it was that he's taking care of that pretty much.
well,
We funded it.
Yeah,
so
we
just about
we
it.
voted to go ahead and
well, the
Perfect.
question is, do we pay for the $10,000 version or the $5,000 version? See, and from our budget, basically, because we're buying one. So this is, or else they average it out or something. I don't know how it would work, but it might be that
It's more important to come up with an upweller.
it could, because we're using a different upweller anyway, one that's been used for 5 or 6 years already. So it's like, it depends on how the budgeting ends up with our budget. So
We want the $5,000.
Anyway,
We want to make our money go
I
as
didn't
far
know
as
if we
possible.
should take,
With
can we
the
take a
five.
vote on that?
it's unanimous.
Okay, yeah, good point.
Oh, it should be noted that before he went to the British Virgin Islands, Steve filed a very complete and very
I gave him something to
professional
I gave him something to reveal.
application under the gun, I will say. You had a
I
lot of
wasn't
things
there.
going that day, but we appreciate it because
No,
Get the ball rolling.
Well,
I told him to hold my plane.
good. So, all right, next item, Cape Cod Commission and Collaborative Update. Virginia and I and Jerry and Sia and Nate met with the commission yesterday on a couple of topics. And Virginia, would you like to?
Sure. You should have all received a memo that we had put together and sent to the Cape Cod Commission ahead of time, with a great deal of help from SIA, so everyone has that.
Right.
We met with the executive director, Paul Nizwicki, Tom Cambereri, who's Water Resources, there we go, and several other staff members. And we divided the meeting into two parts. One was purely regulatory discussion, and I'm going to put that second. And 6 requests that we hoped the commission we definitely wanted their reaction, and we wanted to see if we could get their cooperation, assistance, either technical or financial. And I would say it was a very productive meeting. We started out with the Eco Toilet Conference at the Green Center and asked for $1,000, and the answer was yes. And he was happy to do it, and could see the benefit of it all, and so we actually moved on to our other requests because there was no issue. Our second request has to do with what was just discussed, and that's the shellfish demonstration program. As you remember from our previous budget discussions, we have funding for 2 years, but it needs to be a 3-year program. And so we were looking for either funding of the shellfish in the 3rd year or assistance in the monitoring, which is going to go on for all 3 years. The answer we got was they will consider some role. They did not say, yes, we'll provide money, but they will consider some role. And they added in the fact that they're also involved with aquaculture projects in Wellfleet, and they named one other, I'm sorry. Mashpee. The point, Ron, which I thought was interesting, was they're very supportive of the fact that we're monitoring the water quality. In Mashpee and Wellfleet, all they're doing is weighing the shellfish and saying, okay, this much nitrogen was extracted. But to see what the impact is on the actual water quality, they thought that was really good. So they're going to have what they called an internal discussion and get back to us. But I would say that we will probably get some sort of assistance on that topic. The third was the demonstration project for permeable reactive barriers. We currently have CDM Smith evaluating that, but it's just desktop. There is no field work. The Cape Cod Commission in the early 90s had a grant and did actually do some field work in Seacoast Shores. So we wanted to see if we could build on that. Would they be able to help us with additional field work? Again, they were very interested in the project and want to stay, abreast of what we're finding. They mentioned that EPA might be a source of funding because they like innovative projects, and that would sort of fit into their funding concept, and that the commission would help. So again, it was left at a discussion level, but an indication that they would be supportive and that they thought it was a good project we were working on. The fourth request is a new one, and it's actually the subject of item 7 on the agenda. It arose out of, somewhat independently, a conversation that Eric had with Brian Howes, another conversation with Mike McGrath, and some information that George Heufelter got from Florida having to do with what we are now calling a reactive material layer. But it's basically a permeable reactive barrier put underneath the leaching field of a septic system on a property, on a home property. And this would be a test at the center out at Otis for 2 years to evaluate the effectiveness of that under controlled conditions, to try different kinds of materials, different kinds of thicknesses. Again, we are looking for some financial help. The reaction from the Cape Cod Commission was that George Heufelter is very capable of getting funding. So I would say, in all honesty, their answer was no for that one, but interested in the concept. So and we definitely should go forward with that. And if we need to use some of our own innovative alternative funding to make it happen, I think we should. It's a subject of another discussion. Fifth request was aerial survey. To do a lot of the design, we need a really good aerial survey with a great deal of detail. The county in the past has done some flying, but it hasn't necessarily added to our database. So this was a request to make the information uniform, to consider flying the whole Cape. They said that Provincetown was planning to fly now, and that perhaps they could piggyback on that. So they're going to evaluate that request. Didn't make a particular commitment, but saw the point of it. And the last was inlet widening. And here we asked for their expertise, their assistance, their connections to the other regulatory agencies, and basically help in expediting the permitting that we see coming with the opening of Bourne's Pond. They said that filing an enhanced environmental notification form with MEPA would be the way to go, and that they would be glad to help with that. And so we left that there would need to be additional discussions on a staff level with our engineers and their staff, but they saw that this was something that they could help with. So that's a summary of the requests. The discussion on the Regional Water Management Plan and some new guidance that they have put out, which was just emailed to everybody about a week ago. This is draft. It took a little discussion to get to that point, but they agreed that this is a first draft, and that they are in the process of updating their 1978 Water Management Plan, which includes a wastewater component. They are going to be dividing watersheds into two classes. Shared watersheds, which means that the watershed extends over the town boundary line into some other town. And what they call targeted watersheds that are entirely within a particular town. And for us, Little Pond, in fact, many of our watersheds are targeted watersheds. We share one with Bourne, and we share Wacoit with Mashpee, and a piece of Wacoit also goes into Sandwich. So this was basically an education for us of what their thinking is and where they're going on the regulatory process, but also a clear indication from them that we're already on a path, we're out the gate, and we are a targeted watershed, we're not a shared watershed. And so again, they use the words expedite and assist us with the permitting process. We emphasize the fact that we need to stay on our funding track, and we need to stay on our SRF request track in order to make all the things happen that we're working on. So, as I said, it was a really good meeting, and they tried to say that they want to be partners with the town. I think is perhaps a way to express it.
Another good thing we think is they recognize the importance of Wacoit Bay, and they may try to work with us to identify that, and also maybe Bourne's Pond, but more so Wacoit Bay as a special watershed of interest to try to draw in extra money to the extent that we can. And it didn't, I don't know if they knew it was coming out, but I just sent them out today. DEP I just got it today, yesterday, new resource protection permitting regulations. I have no idea what they say, but I think they're trying to streamline. Part of the introduction was they have 1,500 people cut. They're going to Well, if you read it more completely.
No, I didn't,
they're
I haven't read it.
They're streamlining a lot of things, giving the Board of Health more authority if they're doing things in third-party review. It's probably something C&I will have to start looking at because there's new requirements for me possibly. Hopefully it's easier.
Yeah, I read the earlier version of this. And,
Oh, you did? Okay.
And you're right, their goal is to allow more things by right. You know, small stuff, other things that I think they find aren't worth their trouble, essentially, and they want to get them off of their plate. So they're redefining jurisdictions both for themselves and for conservation commissions in a way that involves less applications for them to review and hopefully less aggravation for the applicants.
Jerry makes a good point on Walkway Bay. That is a shared watershed, and they use it as a pilot to see if working with Mashpee and Sandwich that it will help them get to where they need to go as an agency working with shared watersheds. And they said, you know, that this guidance is likely to look different by the time they get through the process. And so I thought that's encouraging for people who were concerned that way out in Wacoit was going to be much later in our planning process. And we've said, no, some of the demonstrations may be out in that area. And now they're saying, since it's a shared watershed, perhaps they can help with the regional planning for that. So that's the summary.
Any other comments or questions on Cape Cod Commission meeting?
Yes, I do. I have a few. I have a number of comments, questions really, and some observations. I got this today. Thank you, Steve, for sending this to us. I hadn't seen this before, but it came from the committee, which was interesting to see. And it would be nice if we had considered this at some point. And therefore, the points I have to make are some are relatively minor, but under, for example, the eco-toilet component, are packaging toilets still part of our scope in the eco-toilet realm, or are they not? Because they're not mentioned here. I'm just wondering if they're...
You mean if somebody would like to install a packaging toilet?
Right.
Sure.
Oh, okay. No, I just didn't know. It wasn't mentioned. I just wanted to...
Well, the only request here was for $1,000 for the conference.
No, I know. Right, I know. But I'm just, as a document that would be useful to the county, I thought it would be nice to have that in. It would have been nice. And also our very good cooperation with the Health and Environment Department at the county level. That would be, although they may think we don't need the money because they could come from there. But anyway, that's just a couple things. Then I had a question under the shellfish propagation. And in the second line at the end of it, it says to reduce the need for gray infrastructure, G-R-E-Y. What is that?
G-R-E-Y or A-Y?
G-R-E-Y. At the end of the second line of the shellfish propagation. I have G-R-E-Y. That's what I don't know what that is.
Top of the page 2, second line.
Oh, yep, okay. Gray infrastructure is a specific term used by the Cape Cod Commission to discuss things that are not sewers.
Oh.
Or they are sewers. To reduce the need for gray infrastructure.
One or the other.
Well, whatever it is, I just thought, this is just to educate me.
So if you look at the Cape Cod Commission documents, they have technical documents.
Okay.
Gray infrastructure are sewers. Reducing gray infrastructure with what they call green infrastructure are things like shellfish, permeable reactive barriers, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So what we were doing in this document is using their terminology to show how what we were doing fit right within the rubric of their thinking and planning and reporting and
Okay. Well,
recommending.
Okay, that's
That's
fine.
what
I just didn't know what I don't know the term. What I just.
Neither did I. We put it in, it was their term.
Oh, right.
You've heard of gray water, so
Right,
I
but that's why it's confusing, because sewers carry both gray water and black water.
And black water, I
Anyway,
understand.
it's okay.
The idea is they define green infrastructure, and obviously they were using gray to contrast with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other points, Ron?
Yeah, the others are just under, then the next paragraph, there's, improving water quality through activities, but also removal of nitrogen could be, could be mentioned. Maybe that's synonymous. And another thing I think we need to keep in mind for this is that it says, at the second paragraph at the end, it says, and assessing aesthetic impacts from shellfish equipment. I guess that means community acceptance, but that's a good community acceptance. It just, as we write.
That's taken exactly from their documents.
Yeah.
That particular bullet is exactly the way the commission expresses it. So a lot of this was to try to show again how what we're doing fits with the specific bullets in their specific planning document. So I use their terminology.
Okay, fine. Okay, that's fine. All right.
Just explain.
Okay, that's it. Well, we need to. Anyway, if we can just to let's bring our thinking, which is probably further along on this than maybe they are in terms of that. Under the next point, to move right along, under permanent reactive barriers, it says committed $250,000, this is the third line, to planning and installation of 2 PRBs. So that's the total commitment to, that's just for partial cost, obviously, right?
Right.
It's just how much we've committed. But the 250, I thought, was more from planning and permitting, or is that?
Your problem with the word installation?
It just makes it sound like we're going to be able to do it for $250,000 from my reading, but it's just the way I read it. So anyway, that's just a grammatical thing. Under the next one, reactive material layering, we hadn't discussed that before, as you pointed out, which is a very interesting topic. But then I was thinking as I read it, is that this is the reactive material layering thing, is that they're talking about alkalinity and carbon. I'm just wondering, are they thinking about using oyster shells possibly as the filter? I mean, it's got carbon and it would buffer. It would do both. So it could be some byproduct of whatever we're
We're going to
doing.
have a lot of oyster shells.
Yeah, no, we're going to have a lot of exactly. No, I'm just trying to say that as I thought about it and read this, it suddenly struck me that
It's
maybe
cool
wood
synergy.
chips isn't the
Yes.
only thing. It
Wouldn't
might
that
be
be
better.
They use oyster shells.
Yeah,
They use zeolites and they use
they do.
oyster
Okay,
shells.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, good,
It's
good.
kind of cool.
That's good to know. This is sort of late breaking news. It just sort of this
No, it's
information
okay.
came from George, and then that connected with things that Eric had heard, and then we happened to have this meeting coming up, so that's how it got in here.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd known about it, I would have gone to look at it because I was in Florida last week.
Well,
So if I'd known about it, but I didn't know about it. Anyway, but the other, then on inlet widening, I just want to be clear to me, again, in reading this, that all these figures have costs. And we have 300,000, this leads to unusually high permitting expenses, estimated to be 300,000 per Bourne's Pond project. Falmouth has spent 160,000 preliminary design and engineering analysis. Will consider committing an additional 700,000 to final design permitting. That's like $1.16 million.
no, don't count the 300,000 twice.
Okay, so
The 300,000 is in the 700,000, if you remember from our various.
I remember. I'm just saying what I'm reading here.
Yeah.
But the 800. So it's 860,000 then, because there's 160 plus the 700. Is that what it'll end up being,
We've so far.
or is the 160 in the 700?
No,
That's a fair question, is it?
no, the
Okay.
160 we've already spent.
At the 160.
And
Okay.
remaining in that budget and in engineering is 400, and we put into the bond issue for Article 24, the 300.
Think of it as final design. The
Yes.
160 was
Final
30,
design.
well, I don't know if it's 30%.
It's preliminary
It was
design.
preliminary design.
Did the 160 come from
Article
the?
17.
The 500,000.
I know that means that Article 17 was 350,000 for inlet widening.
This is probably a conversation
Yeah.
for
No, I'm
another
just
time.
saying
And,
that.
and it's all in that table that we went
Yeah,
through
we
I know,
did
but I'm
it
just-
at
Here
the
we
very
go.
at the very
last meeting, and the meeting before that.
Right. Yep.
Right, but the last meeting, we talked about 700,000 as the total. So I was just confused by reading this, because I don't know, because it has an impact on that budget then that may not have been.
The intent of this was not to spell everything out in total
Yeah,
detail.
okay.
The intent was to give a short paragraph, a compelling paragraph that used their own language to suggest that they should help us with our projects.
And what
And
did
it
they
worked.
say about the 300,000?
They said,
They said, you don't expect us to pay $300,000, do you?
Okay.
and we said, if you can make the permitting process more coherent, expedited, rational, we won't have to spend 300,000 on permitting. It's
Right,
a
right.
really high number.
Right.
And we need a good, clear path. And they said, well, yes, we had filed this previous ENF on Bourne, and it had crashed, Bourne's Pond, and it had crashed. They now have a cross the agencies sort of discussion group at the state level, and that the commission would help us with that group. And that's what led to the words enhanced ENF. In other words, an environmental notification form, you file for the project, but it's enhanced in the sense that you have already hit some of the other boxes that you're going to need to hit farther down the road.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry to go through all this, but I think it's
That's fine.
just
Ron, I know you know, but for the public, the
yeah.
packaged toilets would only be eligible if the people take out every other toilet
Oh, yeah,
in
but
their
that's
house.
completely irrelevant.
Okay.
We're talking about $1,000, which we
Well, no, you mentioned packaged toilets.
We should celebrate for the $1,000.
That's right.
Yeah, that was good. Good.
Okay,
Keep
Steve,
going.
Did you say we're coming back to reactive material layering tonight on the
number
agenda?
Number 7.
Right, yep.
Well-
Any further conversation on number 3, Cape Cod Commission
Yeah.
meeting update?
I have no,
Right.
but I'd just like to go back to the first item for a second. Did we ever discuss the shellfish? We can come back later, but
Okay,
there was.
well, shellfish, all right.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry.
Well,
to
wait,
come back.
shellfish was number 2, and if you have a point you wanted to raise
No, I
about.
just wanted to say that this. You've all seen this. This is the brochure.
Yeah,
that-
I
that-
haven't, but it
I
looks
was
nice.
I was a little bit taken aback, but I don't remember ordering up a brochure.
Well, I think this is part of their outreach activity. I don't
Well,
know.
it may be, I guess I hadn't heard a word about it until it showed up in the email.
Is this
Yeah.
John Riley's recommended outreach?
Yes, this is his.
I don't think he submitted to us.
Oh, okay, so we-
haven't discussed.
We
that.
haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so he's just
And-
doing this on his own.
And it names Chuck
I thought-
Martinson. Did
No, you-
Chuck agree to this?
Is this a draft?
Yes.
It's a draft. It's a draft.
So is there a way for us to get it, see it, and then comment on it by the
I
next
thought it was
meeting?
circulated to.
It
You've
was sent
seen it.
around.
It
Well,
was.
I haven't
Alright.
seen it.
Oh, well, maybe not to everybody.
I don't think John sent it to everybody.
All right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's probably premature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway,
Can we put
just
it
to
on the-
say they're working on it.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, but
Yeah.
there is a question that we're going to have to deal with, which is how much resources do we want to expend on the brochure? And I have issues with that.
I have a feeling it might be under what they're doing,
Well,
but
we
yeah.
kind of defined the details of what they're
Yeah.
doing a little bit.
I would suggest it's an item for the next agenda.
Thank you.
okay.
Yeah, right. And I think that can roll into
Yes.
a larger picture of the next agenda.
Okay, SMAS contract update.
SMAS, it never ends with SMAS. SMAS is in a do loop. They will not produce anything for us until 30 days after the contract is executed. This came from their accounting department. They went on to say they won't even discuss the contract until the town and they figure out how much we owe them and how much we should pay them. They thought we owed them $50,000. I thought she'd thank me when I called up. I says, no, I think we owe you $250,000. You haven't billed it yet. The next day, they sent us an invoice for around $200,000, and it was for the draft documents. And according to the contract, we owe that much when the draft comes out. And we've agreed to the final document, so as soon as they submit that, we'll release it. The problem is this: I'm hoping their accounting department says, gee whiz, you just gave us $250,000 that we didn't know was coming in. Will they expedite the contract? They will not allow the technical people to release the contract on a proceed at your own risk, which is typical when you have ongoing relationship with consultants. they know the contract's coming, they know how much it is, and it's just, usually when you have one signature, it's pretty comfortable. So, I'm hoping when we get back to it, if they say not for 30 days, it's gonna be due on the 31st day. But at this point in time, I don't think we're gonna have that in place. I'm always conservative, I say for 45 days, unless someone has a change of heart over there and said, gee whiz, we can release the draft, you know. So, there's another side thing that's going on that could get a little bit more complicated. In SMAS has an outstanding wetlands violation because of work in Sipawissa.
Yeah, no, we're aware of that.
They owe the town a bunch of information. The question was raised, should we release any money to them until they give us the information? I hope we can divert that.
Yeah, that's,
It's an ongoing saga.
yeah, you're mixing apples and oranges here, I think.
I agree, but I'm just saying, with SMAS, it's always an ongoing saga.
Right. Right. Comments or questions on that? Number 5.
You don't want my comments about dealing with the monopoly, do you?
Well, it
It's frustrating.
It is not a monopoly, and I think we're going to
It's
have to spend
frustrating.
some more time exploring
It's very frustrating, that's all.
what else is involved.
It's very frustrating.
Short term, it's a monopoly.
It's frustrating.
Oyster Pond Area Outreach Discussion. We all have received a copy of Steve's, what do you call it, proposal here? And Steve.
Carolyn Grasso and Diane Davidson in the town manager's office were extremely helpful, and so was Bob Shea. The budget, I think, is self-explanatory. This postage, envelopes, labor, paper is $221, and if you assume 6 months of constant contact, we could stop it at any time. It's 90, you get $311, which I maintain is a bargain, especially as an experiment for something that could be applied to the whole town later. And
For the benefit of our nationwide TV audience, maybe you could explain what this is about.
oh, sorry, we discussed it last time, but I'll be happy to go over. I was trying to save time. The concept is that there is a piece of very inexpensive commercial software called Constant Contact that many people have heard of, that costs $15 a month. That's for the scale that we would use it. Once it was implemented, it would permit us to send emails to anyone on the list, notifying them of meetings that are coming up, reports, whatever, and even allow us to do polls. For instance, you could do a poll for $10. Not $10 per address, just $10. And I wanted to try it out for Oyster Pond because there will probably be at least one meeting this summer that we announce at short notice. And so we missed well, for various reasons, we couldn't use the water bills. And this would be a custom mailing to the estimated 200 households in the Oyster Pond watershed to suggest to them that they go to our website and submit their email address. And we have a draft letter to go out, which Virginia has looked at. I have a few copies of it here. If you can share them.
Steve, would
Here's another.
the funding
Let
come
me
out of
see
the
one
Oyster
pass you
Pond
one. Do you have one?
budget then? Is that what happens here?
I'm perfectly willing to. It's 0.1% of the Oyster Pond budget. Even smaller. I mean, on the scale of the budgets that this committee normally discusses,
It's pretty
this is
small.
below the noise, I think.
In fact, I think we could make it even smaller. $89 for 200 envelopes is way more than 200 envelopes cost.
Oh, no, there's a technical reason for that. this is a not to exceed budget. I put in the worst case for everything. Those are double window envelopes, which means you print the return address or seal or whatever, and the addressee's address all on the one piece of paper with this draft letter. You format it so it fits. That way, then you just stuff it in the envelope and you're finished. Then you just run the envelopes through a postage meter.
Is this
And
something,
they did suggest that for plain envelopes would be $26 because you only have to get 250 of them.
well, they haven't been to Staples lately.
Well, the advantage of doing it this way is that these two very nice ladies in the town manager's office will do the whole thing in a turnkey operation instead of our running around carrying things from one station to another.
All right.
And I even exaggerated, I doubled their labor estimate. They suggested an hour at $19 and I doubled it.
To pay them? You don't pay them.
Heather Harper walked through and made it very clear that we're to pay for everything.
Including their labor?
Well,
They
presumably
think so, yeah.
Presumably they'd be doing this outside of their regular office time.
Oh,
No, it was my understanding this was on company time, that this was an internal bookkeeping thing.
All right, well, we're really getting down in the weeds here. We don't need to.
Yeah,
What you need, well, you need some reaction to the letter.
right.
And all of this is going to have to wait for a bit anyway, because we haven't even had the kickoff meeting with the consultant yet. And I think we want to have them involved.
That's right, but
This
it,
can't be an independent operation from the consultant we just hired. We have to all be,
Well,
they have to know what it is, and we have to be on the same page.
that's right. No, we wouldn't go ahead with it
Right.
for a while.
Right.
Plus, we'd have to, CIA would have to talk to Constant Contact and arrange for getting that
Right.
on our website.
Right.
But the committee could tonight approve the concept of the budget contingent on it being approved on our meeting with the contractor
Sure.
and the letter.
Okay.
Coordinated
I mean, this is-
contract.
this-
This doesn't come out of his.
No, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, no. Okay, is that a-
It's $300.
Is that a motion? I like what you just said.
Yes,
Approve the concept of the mailing and the letter.
contingent on the
Contingent on-
terms that we really need it.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion?
I'm going to indicate, that, we've spent a fair amount of time looking at ways to demonstrate different things or check out different things. We've got a series of watersheds across this town that as things keep happening, I noticed down here there's public outreach for Mara Vista coming up.
Yeah.
There are many different ways to try to track down people, reach people, build lists, do whatever. Steve spent a little bit of time on a couple of concepts here. He's got a very, what I would call, controlled data set, if you will.
Yep.
200 homes in a watershed. It'd be an interesting exercise for $300 or $400 once we get the wording and everything, micromanaged out here. What you get for a response, how interactive people want to be on it, how good it turns out to be as a mechanism, because if it's efficient, it's something to consider in other areas. Each neighborhood may have its own way of gathering information, but,
Oh, by the way, a little factoid that may be of interest. It's generally felt by people that know about these things that about 84% of households in Falmouth have connection to the internet. And I submit that it may effectively be higher than that because of seasonal houses. People that bring their smartphone and don't have a hookup at their summer cottage. So the house isn't connected, but they're connected.
And they can still be reached.
So they could
Yes.
still be reached.
Yes.
Good, okay.
Right.
Any other comment on the motion? Ron?
I just have a comment on the content, just briefly.
Of the letter?
Yeah, just briefly. I think that there's some really good hook line here in it. It's its first paragraph, but I'd move it up. I'd say, I'd say the town is beginning a serious planning period that will eventually affect the value of your property, the quality of the environment, and the taxes and possible fees. That should be the first line if you want to get their attention.
No. We wanted to read on.
No, then it goes on about, well, what is this all about, you know? Then you explain about the nitrogen and this
Right.
kind of thing. But I think
So
that
we got
would
their
be, yeah,
attention.
okay, anyway, get
Good,
their
I'm glad you
attention.
like that.
Yeah, right. I like that, that you got that, the way you put that in.
we're not
Because
gonna-
it's true, it's
We're not
true.
going to do the detail work tonight, but that
Yeah.
is a good catchy, it'll get their attention.
Yeah.
Telling them you're going to affect the physical layout of their property will also get their attention.
Yes.
I have one more question if I can to Steve through the chair. Can you outline what you think the timetable for doing this is, what the earliest you'd like to do it, and what the latest it would be effective to do it?
I would like to do it not before we meet with the contractors, but I'd like to start on it as soon as possible. The planning for it, getting ready for it, not triggering it, not saying go, but the ready set part of it, as soon as possible after that, because things always take longer than you think they will. Something comes up that by definition you haven't thought of, and you want time to adapt to that, and then to actually trigger it. Well before summer, before people move, seasonal moves occur, and to give us time to react to whatever happens.
End of April? Or beginning of May?
I would go early. I see no.
Well,
The disadvantage of
coming up.
The disadvantage of starting to pay constant contact $15 a month, I see as negligible compared to things like Sia's time and so on. And starting sooner gives Sia more flexibility in working it into her schedule.
It makes sense to do the prep work early. It doesn't make sense to do the mailing before the town election, because there's going to be enough town-related mailing floating around that it'll get lost in the shuffle. And again, you want it to come on its own to these people.
There are special mailings about the election?
Oh, yes. Every interest group who wants people to vote yes or no.
Yeah.
Oh, but not a town mailing.
No. But mailings on town subjects.
But
to-
but the idea of this is that it comes on some sort of town letterhead, which we have to discuss. It's a detail. It will look
Right.
very official. In other words, almost as official as a tax bill.
Okay.
And it says, Town of Falmouth records show that you own property. That is a pretty good hook to most people, I think. In other words, this is something legal that affects their property.
I get you. I'm just saying that the time period between the town meeting and town election is not a good time to send stuff out on town topics unless you want to join the flood. that's
When
coming.
is that period?
So the election is May 21st. So it would need to go out after May 21st. It's going to be a very complicated ballot because it not only has funding questions on it, it has 12 or 15 charter questions on it.
And wind power questions.
And wind power, which is
Maybe.
another
When's
issue.
the town meeting?
Town
That's in
meeting is
April.
Yeah.
April 8th.
Coming up.
But
Well, it
just,
could go out before that.
No. We got a lot to do in the next 2 weeks. Before that is not a good time. What's the rush?
Because May 21st is, I'm thinking out loud.
Yeah.
May 21st is almost June.
Yeah.
well, just on that point though, is that, I don't know how many people are seasonal people in that watershed, so it
But it's
could
being
be
mailed to their tax address.
tax address,
which
right?
presumably is where they
Wherever they, yeah.
really get mail
Okay.
year round.
Okay, okay.
So they're more likely to be here.
Well, that's
And then they miss it.
true. Go to their post office
You can
box.
to the chair, you
Yeah.
can schedule this such that probably after we have the kickoff meeting,
Okay.
you may schedule your first public meeting within the watershed, probably around August. I mean, I don't know when you have your watershed meetings,
Yeah, but I'd like to, the whole point was to get this
Right.
done before people move for the season. And then we can reach them by email later, whenever. Even if something had to be changed for a hurricane, we can send out an email
If it's
blast.
stuff in an envelope, go buy 200 houses.
All right. Well, the motion before us is to approve the concept and,
And we can work on the
and work on the details.
dates later.
Yeah, that's it. But any more conversation on the motion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed, none? Unanimous? Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve.
I just have a related thing. Maybe it's there's an election on April 29th, a
No.
primary.
Oh,
Oh, well,
Right.
there's a state election.
for
Yeah.
the, for the
Yes.
US
Yeah,
Senate.
that's even more mail.
No, I'm just saying, right, no, I'm just
Right.
trying to say that
Wow.
Right.
the complexity of, that's amazing. We'll have two votings within like 2 weeks of each
Yeah.
other, right?
Yes. This is,
So
But your concern is it not being noticed in people's mailboxes as opposed to things for the town to do other than sending it out. You're worried about the recipient end, not the town sending it out end.
well,
Or it's a
Yeah.
question.
You might be worried about both.
I'm worried about, yeah, it's a very busy time for town stuff. I mean, some parts of the year, people aren't getting a lot of mail on town stuff. In this particular month, they are getting a lot of mail on town stuff. And this piece will look to many of them like another piece of town stuff. I mean, all these other,
Well, I don't wanna
all these
take
other
time,
issues
no.
are gonna produce mail that say your tax dollar is in trouble, your property may be in.
Yeah, but the format, in other words, the political stuff I see is these color postcards
There'll be
for
others.
candidates.
In Falmouth.
Or
in
similar
Falmouth,
issue
people
things.
send out letters in envelopes about issues.
They do.
Let's talk about
Okay.
this later,
All right.
because we'll get it out at a good time, but tonight's not the night to pick the time, I don't think. We agreed we're gonna do it. Selectmen and Finance Committee meeting update.
I think the short answer is that the selection received Article 24, the explanation, which includes DPW issues and water quality, Little Pond. So we had a positive presentation and reception, and then the same thing happened a day later at the Finance Committee. We went through the same presentation again. Again, a few questions for clarification, but no issue, no opposition. And we made it clear this is all planned within the $9 million window where we're retiring old debt and issuing new debt. So there's no change in the tax rate.
Right.
I was wondering, just for the listening audience, could you list what the final figures are for each item that in Article 24? I haven't seen that.
I did not.
300,000 for Boyne's Pond opening,
Correct.
4.5 million for a number of issues around Little Pond watershed collection and distribution. And 800,000, which was not our article, but it was the DPW's article around, part of which was the flow measurement that they have to install as a result of the settlement agreement with DEP. And the other part was design of other sort of smaller plant upgrades. So the total of those, I think the flow meter was like 450,000 or 350,
Something like that.
somewhere, and the rest was small design.
All the numbers are in the PowerPoint, which we can send.
One of which was the pump station up on Service Road that
Yes.
has needed odor control for a long time, and that would move that one forward. So that was their piece, the 800,000. Our two pieces were the 4.5 million and the 300,000 for Boyne's Pond.
Through the chair, the finance committee actually writes it up.
Understood, but understood. I'm actually answering his question. And the other piece that gets you to 9 million is the 3.4 for the filtration system for the drinking water.
Right.
Chair, would you like me to send you the PowerPoint presentations?
No, I have the table. I just didn't know, because after talking to the selectmen and the finance committee, just what the outcome was. If they agreed to what was on the
Neither
table.
body took any action.
Right.
They heard the presentation. It hasn't changed the numbers haven't changed.
Since the beginning.
Okay, and what questions do you expect from town meetings, say, on this proposal? Do you have any sense of what people may be asking about with this?
I have not heard any issues about any of the items that have been put into Article 24. There are a lot of questions about the filtration plant, which is Article 25,
Yeah.
which those two together equal the 9 million. The selectmen still haven't made a choice about the degree of treatment that they will endorse, let's say, and town meeting may feel differently. And the Board of Health spoke at the selectmen's meeting because they're very clear about what they think should be the proper level of filtration. So there are discussions on that. I think that the public needs to continually to explain the funding process, and part of the presentation to the selectmen and again to the Finance Committee was done by the financial administrator, Jennifer Petit, of how the old debt is retired and the new debt is borrowed and exactly how she's doing those borrowings. But she made it very clear in her charts that they're all within the existing tax rate, and that's the explanation that we need to give to the public.
Okay, just on this, so the board, does the Board of Health and the DPW, are they on the same page as far as the system is concerned?
They're both recommending the same system.
Same system, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know about the Board of Health, but I knew what
No.
Mr. Jack was
Right.
proposing. So these are using the entire 9 million that would be available,
Yes.
basically, right? And we have this other thing that actually our chair has written about insincerely. The wind turbines,
Yes.
which I don't know where that money's coming from, but I'm just wondering if that's going to be, I don't know how all that,
That's over.
how that all fits together and all
Well,
of
they're
this.
not
but-
together.
They're not.
They're
Yeah, yeah.
separate articles and they're separate ballot questions.
Right.
Okay.
And there are several of those separate articles, so
Right.
it's really kind of hard to
This
tell where
discussion
town
sounds like it's a discussion that should be at the Finance Committee meeting
Well,
with the
that's
Board of
right. Yeah,
Selectmen.
this-
It's not, how does it affect what we're doing?
It affects what we're doing and anticipating what we're doing, because there could be changes on the town meeting floor,
When
but,
we get to number,
yeah,
well, we
okay,
certainly can't
okay.
anticipate that
They-
unless you want to give us a sneak preview of your amendments.
to the, well, which ones?
Stay
Stay tuned, let's make the drama kind of, go on a little bit here, but anyway, no.
When we get to point 8 here, I think we'll get back
Okay,
to
we'll
this
get
piece of
back, okay,
conversation.
sorry, all right.
Okay, quick, number 7, reactive material layering, which the newest phrase, which we've sort of touched on.
Very briefly.
Oh, yeah.
George Heutfelder has been thinking, and he's very creative, and he's been pulling years of research and analysis and thought on different ways to accomplish the goal of performance in IA systems. And he came up with a concept, conversations with Eric, which what am I trying to say? So George has sort of put together a proposal for a concept for doing some testing on a technology, and that is what this material reactive layering. Technically, it involves sulfur-based or zeolite-based substrate that controls alkalinity, that provides carbon, and it's if you can test it and you can validate its performance, it's a very simple install. For new systems, it's the layer in the soil absorption system, and for a retrofit, it would require a backhoe. But that's sort of the general concept, and he's pursuing this, and we're letting the committee know about it.
Right. He's talked to Brian Dudley, and Brian wanted 2 years of data, performance data. You probably know that the test center out at Otis is underlined, so basically all of these experiments or tests in the field, they use actual effluent from the Otis sewage treatment plant, but it goes into whatever trenches or machinery that they have out there, and then it's all underlined, so nothing actually goes into the ground, and you're able to measure the results underneath as you would if it were going on into the groundwater. So George was quite excited about it, and feels he has space to construct it and do it.
This all does emanate from you're sort of reviving the piece in the green sheet of Article 17 that we hadn't spent much time on, which is the on-site denitrification system.
Yeah.
And I think it's a terrific approach.
Yeah, no, it seems very interesting, and so I don't know, maybe from a technical standpoint, you would still be putting in that first stage kind of active unit, and then it would go out into.
Nitrification unit.
I think you need to talk to George.
George, okay.
He's still in the design stage.
Right.
He's done a rough budget.
Okay.
But I think he would be open to additional ideas. I was interested in what you said
The
about the oysters. That might be just
I don't
such
know.
a neat win.
I know.
I mean, what else
If
are we
it all
gonna
works
do?
out, yeah, which else, yeah. But but in practical terms, if, like most of us have septic systems, right?
Right.
You would have to dig up the leaching field, right, put the layer down, and then rebuild it.
And so the question is, how long it will last?
Through the chair,
Sure.
Mike.
Wait, Steve first. Yeah.
When Steve Rafferty and I met with Ken Foreman almost 2 years ago on the permeable reactive barriers, he gave us a bunch of literature, and this concept was in that literature, so it's been around.
Yeah.
Not necessarily exactly the same materials that George is proposing, but at least the wood chips.
Right.
And it was mentioned at that time that what I'm taking issue with here is the very low cost. If it's a new system, it is extremely low cost. You're building a leaching, you dump in a bunch of free stuff and you keep going. It's almost no cost. But for a retrofit, redoing your leaching field is not trivial.
No.
It's more expensive than things in tanks.
I'm going to try to jump in here if I
Right.
can. We went through a little exercise at one point. I think, Sia, you might have participated by going to the Board of Health to look at how many people have a currently, installed Title V system versus how many people have
There you go.
don't have Title V systems. And for a number of our high focus areas, there's a preponderance, I would say, of non-Title V systems. And the Board of Health regularly has people come in, either under failure or under exchange of the property, about what to do. The underlying issue here has been that the state's Title V, which took an inordinate amount of time to revise and put in place, has a lot of difficult to not follow rules, difficult to do something different rules. In other words, you shall have a certain size tank, you shall have, based upon the soils, a certain rate of infiltration. You shall not have any interference between that and the underlying water table, but you must be so many feet above it. People have shied away from going in and putting in something that doesn't conform to Title V between the leaching field portion of a Title V system and the underlying groundwater. Okay, that's been the kind of, if we go do that, we're going to have to take on Title V. The fact that George has had a conversation with Brian Dudley, that George has got a test facility in place and he can take and do what I would call science as opposed to regulatory. And to get him going on this sooner rather than later to see the potential or the benefits of it, or the drawbacks. Do we need an alkalinity source or not? Which down south, they might have other reasons why they need alkalinity, different from what we have up here, having to do with the way they get their drinking water, but we'll leave that aside because that's chemistry and we don't want to go too far into that today. This is a great opportunity, okay? And, the next step, if it's working, may be like saying, cost us how much to permit inlet widening? It may take a whole lot of exercise to get people to agree to change Title V
To allow this additional
to
layer.
allow this additional layer.
Yeah,
'Cause
but it's gotta
it may
be-
work. It may be really good for Falmouth, but they may not want anybody to do anything like this in a lot of other parts of the state for whatever reasons the people that oversee the Title V regulations are. Okay, that's all.
Right.
So this is an issue of, will you count that layer as part of the separation layer? Will it be in addition to your separation layer? There's a lot of what ifs in here, but the fundamental science, does it help to knock down the nitrogen? And if so, what percentage? would be a great thing to get to the answer of.
Right. And the other part of it is that it may turn into like a trickling filter type of a system that is not necessarily part of the soil absorption system, but becomes a full-blown INA system of its own.
Yeah.
So
Right.
understanding the how the substrate nitrifies and denitrifies could lead it to,
A facultative fixed film substrate is a trickling filter, and that would
Yeah.
not be a subsurface absorption system at that point.
Right.
So that's a different system.
right, but it would be different, but it would be using the same substrate. So George is gonna be here in a few weeks to talk to us, and I'm sure he'll
But
have thought it through more.
just a question, I mean, this is apparently going on in Florida, so they must, maybe they have some data, or
I think
maybe
it was
they-
done in a lab.
In a lab,
Very
oh.
Yes,
small,
and
small.
yes, very small,
This is,
and
this is
also,
all new stuff. This
the
is really all
gentleman
new stuff.
did not have a place to do a field test. And lo and behold, George has the place with the field test. So the people in Florida apparently are pretty excited that because it can be taken to the next step. So that's sort of the conversation that's going on with Florida.
Is there something here that we need to vote on, or is this information?
No,
Nope,
no,
just-
this is
just
informational, and
Trying to
it's
figure out.
really come up in just like in the last 2 weeks.
Is it proprietary? You're talking about some guy in Florida.
I think no, it's not proprietary.
Not proprietary.
I would put out there, to the extent that the town's money gets involved in this, there needs to be some clarity about who owns the intellectual properties or rights.
Well, let's talk to
This is-
George about that.
This is all back to the way
Right.
Jerry went around and around about intellectual properties and rights. It's a two-way street, so to the extent we are developing something that's going to have benefit for all, I would suggest that we should not
Oh, that
let
we-
somebody capitalize too much on
Oh,
it.
that we might want them for the town.
Could be the county's intellectual.
But we're getting way off.
I might be
Yeah,
more,
speculative here.
it might be more egalitarian even than you.
All right. Item number 8, proposed public outreach education presentations with West Falmouth, Heights Mara Vista, Boynes Pond, and Little Pond Shellfish. We reached out to the West Falmouth Village Association to say, would you like us to come and bring you up to speed on what we've been talking about? They said, yes, we would, but you couldn't come to our last meeting. We'd have to set a different date. And so we'll get back to them about a date. But the idea of meeting with them and with the neighbors around Carker Pond to bring them up to speed on what's been going on is out there. The other thought I had, and I'm just putting this one out, is that at our next meeting on the 21st, if we could put together maybe 20-minute presentations on 3 topics. The Boynes Pond opening topic, the the Little Pond collection system topic, and the Little Pond shellfish topic, and do some public outreach in the next 2 weeks, inviting people to come and hear about these things. It's timely because it's before town meeting. And these projects are ripe. Certainly the shellfish one is ripe, and people are now coming out of their winter hibernation, and I think they would come. And I'd like to suggest that we devote the next meeting to those 3 topics, if we can put together presentations that would be, comprehensive but short enough that they wouldn't take up the whole night.
Let's just talk about who would do the presentations. For the shellfish, would you have John Browley, or would you have Ron do it, or?
What do you say?
I would, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do it, but John, it just depends. I mean, if he, yeah, it might be, we could do it together,
It'll be
or
one
he
day
could be
after.
here.
It'll be the
Conservation
day
Commission.
after the Conservation Commission.
Okay, well-
So
He may be,
Do you have a finite number of meetings that he's paid to attend?
I was
That you don't want to use one up?
that's a good question.
We'll let him sort of.
We'll work with him.
Review the budget.
You can figure it out if we can afford him.
Well,
But I really,
I'll
I
throw
just,
another name on here. I mean, Matt Weeks has been
Oh, that's true.
involved with this whole shellfish program from the start. He now works for the town. He may be willing to be a voice towards this project at a couple of presentations as well. I think he's fairly articulate, and he's committed to the program. So it's another resource possibly that we
And
can.
he's an oyster farmer.
are we going to have the draft flyer at this same discussion?
We don't, well,
no.
that would be the
It
next
will not have been
meeting.
approved by
No.
anybody at that point.
Okay,
so-
all right, so, all right.
Yeah,
No.
I don't know
All right,
what,
I
yeah, anyway,
We
it's,
had mentioned a little while ago that it was going to be on the agenda, so.
right, I mean, yeah. Well, the next, you're thinking of the next meeting then?
Yeah, the
for this?
21st.
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 And if,
Try to get the library if you can.
well, I was gonna say, if we want to do this, the library would be better than here.
Right.
If anybody were to come, we'd want to have.
And then we could have well, it's the first day of spring. Everybody will come out.
Right, well, it's fairly short notice. The library usually once a month.
Right.
So we need to find out tomorrow whether it's available.
I can call,
Okay, you call.
I can call them tomorrow.
The Bourne's Pond, would we have Jeff, our engineer, or should we just,
I don't know that we need
I
Jeff.
don't think that's-
no, we just, okay,
Yeah,
just some slides.
do we have enough slides from his other presentations that we could,
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Okay.
we
We
can
got
cull
enough
out?
slides for everybody, so that
Well, we don't need
Actually,
the whole
if-
thing. Unless you want to show them all four options and how we got to that. Well, maybe you do.
I think with John's presentation really, I'm blanking on his last name, the inlet widening.
Oh, Ramsey.
Yeah, Ramsey, right. Yeah, I mean, just as his presentations were very specific,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I don't think we need the hired experts in every
Right,
instance.
right. No, I'm
here.
just saying it-
But we do need their material.
yeah, okay.
And we have it, I think,
And I
one or
think-
two
and I
slides
think we
per
have
topic, and a
Yeah.
good speaker is all you really need.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I would say quite simply too, if you could get the little clip that was in the SMAS presentation where they show the colors going up and down as, you know, the difference between it when it's open and not open. You can see
Yes.
the area affected. And
Nice.
it's,
That's very good.
it's a nice little visual that
No question.
goes in there, breaks it up and say,
Yeah.
you know, why even do this? Well, here's why you do it, because look at how much area
That's very,
is affected by this, and then, you know, what are the choices, what does it look like?
that's very compelling. Yeah.
So the little pond animation.
No, I think it was a board pond animation.
Yeah.
Born
Yeah,
Born
that's
Pond.
right, the Born, thank you.
On Bourne's Pond, does anyone know offhand how many households roughly are affected?
350.
No, the
Depends
total,
who you ask.
the total. I just can't remember the total number.
That are in that watershed?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know.
Actually, I don't know that number either. We'd have to ask the,
Are you trying to get to a
forgot.
percentage?
we're trying to get a sense of, what 350
Is.
equals and what it means in terms of
I think it was.
composting toilets.
I think it was
on top
less
of-
than a quarter, but not like 5%. It was a chunk of the board.
it's,
was, okay.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Steve.
it was a chunk.
Next week, you and Virginia and I are going to be drawing lines on a map, giving it to Bob Shea to come up with and he gave me a very nice map to work
Right.
from for
The,
that.
the mailing list for the
Right.
Oyster Pond project. Yeah.
D- You can think of that as a pilot to see if the whole thing works and then go from there. But if people want to know facts like that, or ultimately lists for other watersheds, the other way of thinking about it is have him do it all at once. It might be only a marginally small amount of work for him, I don't know.
No.
I mean, it would only make sense if it was a marginally small extra amount of work for him to do the other water. He wouldn't necessarily use them for anything, certainly not for sending out a mailing. But you'd have the tabular data that can then be combined
Yeah.
with all the other town data anytime you want it, to query the database. How many of these are that?
We will need that, but we probably need to know that the town meeting and the voters want to do these projects before we start preparing detailed lists of people who are going to be affected by them. So we probably, until the voters have spoken.
No, I didn't mean for mailing anyone. I meant to know it. And there were,
Understood.
Steve or someone was just saying, how many houses are in the Bourne's Pond watershed?
That number is available because the
It's in the MEP
Stearns
report.
and Wheelers,
Right.
now GHD, had to calculate the number of units for each of those watersheds. It's
It's
I
known.
think if we ask Nate, he'll know where to put his finger on it, and it'll give us, it's somewhere around 1,000, I believe.
Just throw out the idea in case
Yeah,
you
well,
have other
I
data.
think some counting has been done.
I'm looking forward to doing it with Oyster Pond because
Without getting into the
it'll
actual
give us some
count, I think what
practice.
Ron is
Right.
trying to make as a suggestion is,
Right.
if we're making I mean, I'm trying to read what
Yeah.
you're saying sometimes. If we're putting together a slide presentation about the Bourne Pond inlet, it would be useful to, in some place there, have the snapshot that says, you know, this will take care of X percentage of, you know, there's 1,500 homes here, this takes care of 300, it helps. You know, so people get a sense of how much has been taken care of or not being taken care of by doing this.
Right.
Is that what you're trying to go to?
That's so I was coming to that. It's sort of along the lines, and I'll come to this in correspondence later, but it had to do with an article in the Enterprise about Oyster Pond and how some change or some adjustment would allow us to cut so much back,
Right.
which was a clear
Oh.
percentage of how much that
Right,
was,
right.
whatever. So
That
I'm
was-
just saying, I don't know how accurate that presentation was, that article is in terms of the
Changing
detail.
the standard of the water body.
Right.
It's a
Yeah,
little
no,
dicey.
I know. That's what I was, yeah, okay.
Creative.
Okay. Well, the premise of devoting the next meeting to a public
Yeah,
presentation on these topics is a sort of a feeling we should. Hearing no objection?
Okay, all right.
Okay.
We'll plan it that way.
We'll figure out, and if you could see if we can get that library room.
so,
I'll
so
see
what
that
will we
tomorrow.
be presenting? The oysters and inlet widening and
And Little Pond.
The collection system.
Little Pond Collection System. And, okay, and, all right, so, okay, I'm-
Just had a question on that. I think that means that what we want to start doing pretty soon is the slides and getting deciding what level of information we want to have to present, which is actually a really a good precursor to town meeting
Sure,
anyway, so.
Right.
sure.
So,
And the selectmen
Start thinking about
presentation
that.
is a good start. I mean,
Yep.
You almost have enough slides in there, minus a couple of things.
Yeah, no, I think we have enough slides there, and I know we have enough slides about Bourne's Pond in that presentation, and we must have enough with
yeah, it
Bradley's.
doesn't take very many to do that.
So
some
fine.
targeted information, like it's this percentage of this, and you know, the sort of take-home facts that are compelling to start.
Right.
If you have take-home facts that are compelling, send them off, and we'll turn them into slides, but I'll be thinking about that too.
On the collection system, there may be questions about the treatment and the potential impacts.
No problem.
That, so we should be prepared for
that.
that too, okay. Okay, good.
Some of them may come from you.
They might come from me.
And asking Matt about his availability and interest.
You think Matt's the one? I mean, he's a town employee.
Matt Weeks.
Who has,
At one time, excuse me, they told us that he had a lot to learn on the way the town does things. So we'd have to go through, you should go through Chuck as to if you could carve out the time, because he was going to a lot of training sessions. He probably could teach the courses, but I think his time was gonna be limited over a short period of time.
Okay, so we'll check with Chuck.
but
Yeah, I have to check.
we can figure that out. but
I think
sometime next
that
week.
if he was there at least as a
Yeah.
contact,
Yeah.
so people would know that they had questions in the town, who to go to, and then he could just be there and
Yeah,
also
that's the
answer
point,
any
make sure
questions.
he'd be
Yes,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
if he can be there.
And you could do the presentation, or
I could do a
Bradley can
presentation.
do the presentation.
Right.
So, but other resource people around is good. Sure. Right, other reports of committee members and staff. We have a short report from one staff and other things from others, but she has one that,
A short one. There was a newspaper article that came out in the February 26th Enterprise, and I would just like to, for the record, clarify. I attributed some quotes to me, and I just want to clarify what I thought I said and how it differs from what was actually reported. The quotes were in the Enterprise, and they say that INA systems require a lot of maintenance and labor to remove nitrogen from the effluent wastewater. That's what the quote says. It looks like the way it's written that I was saying that about Nitrex systems, and I was not. What I was saying is that, you know, we had gone on a site visit to the BioClear system and discussed with the operator the weekly testing that he does and the weekly alkalinity changes that he makes. And there are other systems, not Nitrex, that have those kinds of monitoring and I would say maintenance protocols that happen to maintain systems that are that size at 12 milligrams per liter or 10 milligrams per liter. The way it reads in the paper, it sounded like I was saying that the Nitrex system requires a lot of maintenance, and I was not saying it about Nitrex at all. So I wanted to clarify that. And the other point I wanted to clarify is that it says that I said alternative system, where did it say? The Nitrex system, the big price tag will not go away. And the conversation that we were having actually related to if there was a generic brand of Nitrex, would that significantly reduce the overall cost of the system? And what I was intending to compare is the cost of the nitrifying component and the septic tank and the installation as a larger cost than the Nitrex box denitrifying unit. And it came out in the paper that I was saying it's a big price tag for the Nitrex system, and that is not at all what I was intending. So I wanted to clarify that for the board, that the paper seemed to express things a little differently than how I meant it to come out. That's all.
Any other report of committee members or staff?
I just have, I think Virginia brought it up about I was in a conversation and the question came up about lowering the standard for oyster pond.
Yeah.
And so, so that was seemed like a bit of a slippery slope. I'm not sure that we may be getting into, but it gets into, actually all the estuaries then become into a different, depends on how we look at them in terms of the target.
Actually, no,
no.
it's only true for oyster pond.
Well, it's only that particular, right, but once it starts moving.
You could say if you've set a precedent,
Right.
then maybe it's generally a slippery slope, but
I'm not-
the
I'm not-
concept would not apply to.
Well, they were
Little Pond.
concerned that the way to solve the problem is to lower the standard.
Yeah.
So that was the
Right,
thing, yeah.
clarify
Yeah,
something. It's not lowering it below where it is now.
right,
It's
Oh.
saying, taking
Yeah.
it from where it is now, way down here,
yeah.
instead of taking it way up there, take it to there.
Right, well, so I just to educate myself, I went and looked up 314 CMR 4.00 and read exactly what SA and SB are and SC.
Oh, good.
Okay, and that's you can find that online, but SA, I have no idea what waters unless it's some stream coming up from a glacier going through rocks into some kind of a pond because
Upper
it
reaches
says
of the
it
Westfield-
shouldn't go below 6 milligrams per
Upper
liter
reaches
oxygen.
of the Westfield River are SA. Upper reaches of the Westfield River are SA. There are not many, but there are
There are a
some.
few places, yeah.
You can get a map if you want.
Right, but it's not an estuary.
No.
It's a stream or something, right? Or
Surface A.
surface A, okay. S stands for surface or stands
S
for
stands for
salt?
surface.
Surface.
Salt.
SA?
Salt.
Salt.
I'm sorry.
Salt.
I was just jumping. There's not a lot of A bodies. I'm sorry. I jumped. You're right.
SA and SP.
SAs and
So,
SPs.
but the other interesting thing
Not
is,
same line.
What, can I,
yeah,
Mr.
I
Chairman?
see.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I want to make sure I hear what you both are saying. The last comment about this, the upper reaches of some
No, I
glacial stream.
I jumped to the wrong thing. I
No, but-
crossed over salt and fresh. I misspoke.
So you're saying it's not that rare?
No, I'm just saying A body waters, whether they're salt or they're fresh in this state, are very rare.
very rare, right.
So that would seem to support the concept that only going to SB is not unreasonable.
Well, Ron was actually starting to provide us with that.
Yeah, a little bit more
Oh,
information,
okay.
right. So, or it says basically that for oxygen anyway, that, well, for SA it says less than 6. And then for SB, it has, shall not be less than 5. And 5 is pretty good, like you can grow trout, the standard is 4, okay, basically for aquaculture. And so these are, it's just interesting in looking at this in terms of what it means. But one of the main things was, which isn't even pertinent, one of the biggest differences between the two is that, and this is, I'm not sure how this works with the Division of Marine Fisheries viewpoint, but it says you can harvest shellfish. Okay, oyster pond, we don't have shellfish because the salinity is too low without depuration, which is most of our shellfish in town is in open or conditionally open areas, whereas B, it's with depuration. So that means like pretty heavily laden areas, and it's hard to imagine how you would get 5 milligrams per liter of oxygen, which is pretty high, with a high bacteria concentration or a high. So some of this is here, someone's put this